Well, Alex, I don't understand. I don't understand what your deal is. I'm kind of looking forward to building owl temples for these guys.
You're kind of looking forward to taking that vaccine that sterilizes you. Then you're. Never mind. I'm not going to say it. They got shots, folks, that basically terminate any usefulness for your huevos. Just take your vaccine, ladies and gentlemen.
Adios, mofo.
You guys are in there playing some funny clips today. Okay, you know what? I joke about this, but I'm not joking. I joke around, but this is a serious issue. Now, let me tell you, I'm not saying all census takers are bad or evil. They're folks wanting $10 an hour. But I remember in 2000, I was covering it on the air at the time, and 1 out of 6 households got this longer form that had 49 questions. And then I think it was 1 out of 15, I don't remember the exact, got this American Community Survey that was a couple hundred long, and people were getting business surveys. They were asking, how many guns do you have? What are your stocks and bonds? List them. Do you have a low flush toilet? How long have you lived here? Who is your next of kin? And I explained to people that the U.S. Code, and I had retired judges on and read the U.S. Code, all they can ask you is how many people live here. That's it. Not their blood type, not who their mommy was, not if they like to drink 2% or whole milk. You can't ask them if their hair is dyed. You can't ask them, if they use conditioner when they wash their hair. You can't ask them if they clean their toenails. You can't ask them their sexual preference. You can't ask them if they like Schlitz malt liquor or Budweiser. You can't ask them if you like the Cowboys or the Redskins. You can't ask them nothing, you little secret police freaks. Now, all of that said, I'm getting tired of tyranny, folks. I'm fired up today. This is what happens when I stop not exercising and start exercising. The old, horrid Alex of 10, 12 years ago comes back. The really obnoxious one. Anyways, testosterone's what it's called, folks. It can make all my hair fall out, though, if I keep working out like this. Anyways, side issue. Working out with heavy weights boosts your testosterone, folks. I'm fired up here. All right, let me go, plus all this coffee I've been drinking. But listen, let's just go back here. Doesn't it fire you up? To know that under the census law, they can only ask how many people live here, and that goes back to Mount Sinai and Moses numbering the people of Israel to break them into tribes. What you're dealing with here is they said, we're going to have a Congress, and each state will get 2 senators, but so that states with bigger populations don't get full control, we'll have senators. But at the same time, so bigger states do get a little bit more representation, in the House, it'll be apportioned by the number of people by the census, how many representatives you get. And under U.S. law, they can only ask how many people live here. That's it. So when you get the form, the longer ones that we got in 2000, and now it's time for the census again, and it's totally illegal. It's all color of law. It's a trick. Just like there's no law you got to take vaccines. It's a regulation to attend school, but it's not a law. It's their policy, but they have to give you a waiver for the policy under state law. Well, it's the same thing. You'll see the big form with 49 questions, 100 questions, 200 questions. It depends. They send out different ones, and it'll say, up in the corner, it'll have 2 or 3 questions, and it'll say under that, you have to do this by penalty of law. And then there's a tiny dotted line beneath it with all the other questions that under law you don't have to answer. But they don't explain that to you. You see how that scam works? It's a contract fraud. Stinking, dirty, lying government lawyers think up all this stuff to trick you, and they sit around laughing. The slaves will never know. They'll tell us how much money they've got in the bank. Do they own firearms? And then I remember there was a big stink in 2000 about this, and I got bang, bang, bang. And my girlfriend, now my wife, had answered the door when I was gone one day, and this punk at the door threatened her and said, you didn't fill out your census. You only said 2 people live here. You got to answer all the questions. And she slammed the door. Well, he was back. And so I get a video camera, and I go to the door. This tape's somewhere. And I say, what do you want? And he goes, he was an arrogant on a power trip. I walked outside and followed him. He was parked in the middle of the street, just totally out of his mind on a power trip. That's how it is. These dumbed-down fluoride heads, they got 75 IQs, but they're on a power trip with a little plastic badge now. And he says, you got to fill this out under law. And I said, go call the police then, punk. Get off my doorstep now. And he said, you're going to be arrested. I said, good. I'm going to sue you after I'm done. Get out of here. I followed him out to the curb because he I'm somebody who's not a slave. I went and checked the U.S. code. I know it's a lie. Now, that idiot probably believes it's actually the law. Did you guys find where census takers force ways into homes? You didn't find it. Still looking? No, I mean, it was all over the news. Of course, that was 9 years ago, maybe off the web by now. Everybody remembers it. The point is, yeah, there were cases where they got on such power trips, they would force their way, bust down doors, they'd get arrested. One census taker got killed by dogs. Anyway, side issue. The point is, then they announced 2004, I remember seeing it in the news, oh, now we're going to have yearly and monthly censuses. Now, wait a minute, you have a Fifth Amendment. They can catch an axe murderer with 15 chopped up men, women, and children in a basement, and they can't compel the axe murderer to incriminate themselves. Fifth Amendment. You have a right to remain silent. Why, then, do they tell you under penalty of law you've got to answer these questions about do you own guns, do you have a low-flush toilet, what are your stocks and bonds? Those are real questions. You see, this is how these scumbag work. Now, they're going around GPSing everybody's front door for the federal police. You saw the gun confiscation in New Orleans and now in Illinois. So this has got me fired up, and I'm sorry I kind of went over the deep end there, but I mean, I am sick and tired of it. And then now we've confirmed the Acorn people and others are running around with GPSs. Also marking, and of course they admitted this about a month ago. They said, oh, there'll be upwards of 1 million Obama volunteers knocking on your door to see if you support his agenda. And then I saw in their own blurbs, they've been given GPSs for files on top of it to nexus in with your name off the federal census. So both the feds and this auxiliary goon force, you know when you see these USAservice.org and all these groups, that's private groups of the Democratic Party and George Soros with Obama's face on it with the presidential seal, building up a literal Hitler-Jugend, right, a Maoist system here in America. When we come back, your calls and then the gun grabber treaty. I'm fired up. Stay with us, baby.
Now live from Austin, Texas, here's Alex Jones.
We are locked and loaded. This is the Info War. You are on the tip of the spear in the fight for liberty and freedom against the globalists. We are breaking the mainstream media's conditioning, their brainwashing, their false left-right paradigm. We are taking action. Okay, next segment, I'm getting into the gun grab treaty, all the latest gun grabbing. This is off the chart. Obama keeps using his military program of saying this is not an assault. We don't want your guns. This is not amnesty as they push for amnesty. This is not a carbon tax as it is a carbon tax. Using his move to go after our guns and everything else with the smokescreen of the hyped-up manufactured flu known as the porcine Piggly Wiggly flu. Let's go ahead and take a call. Now, listen, I'm going to do this because I'm really bad. Caller calls up, gets me on a rant and a rave about the census takers violating the law, color of law, intimidating people to, turn into snitches on themselves and tell faceless bureaucrats all this stuff. In fact, we Googled census takers forced their way into door from 2000. We found a bunch of new stuff like this one. First video footage of census taker and GPS in neighborhood. Worker gets upset with homeowner for videotape. And then tells the guy, you can't videotape me in your own house. I mean, now it's not enough to have cops on a power trip violating the Bill of Rights. Now it's just millions of little mindless idiots who haven't even been given 10 minutes of training about the Bill of Rights running around on power trips. Anyways, let's go ahead. I'm going to give each caller about a minute because I want to take 7 calls in this segment and then come back and get into all of this vital news. Michael, you're on the air from Los Angeles. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the chemtrail capital of the world. But anyway, Alex, I just wanted to talk to you real quick about Mayor Anthony Villaraigosa. He's teaming up with the L.A. County Sheriffs to do basically a grab on Mother's Day. They're asking Los Angelinos to hand in their guns for groceries.
Yeah, and they did this in Canada. They do this in England. They do this in Australia. They just keep saying, hand in your guns for money, hand in your guns for money. And they show the images of people handing their guns in on the news. And the news implies guns are illegal. And that's always a prelude to real gun bans in Australia, in England, in Germany. And yes, what was it? $6 billion of the $787 billion is being given to local police departments for anti-gun programs. And the feds are having county and city governments, and this is treason, this violates a bunch of state and federal laws, go around state legislatures and pass gun bans on city-by-city basis. This is another way they're coming after our guns. Well, that stinking criminal president, and he is, it's high treason when he goes against the Bill of Rights. he sits up there saying that he isn't anti-gun. At least be honest about it, scumbag.
Right. It's incredible. The mayor actually said he's asking Angelenos to, quote, turn in their guns, and this is all in an effort to get guns off the streets and, quote, prevent gang violence. But, I don't see how...
Oh, look at Mexico. Highest crime rate in the world. Highest crime rate in the world in Mexico. Total gun ban. They want us to live like people do in Chicago and Mexico City and New York City. All the highest crime rates in the world, city by city, nation by nation, because they're disarmed. And they always got thug, corrupt politicians and military police ruling over them with criminals running wild. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to ask all my friends to counter this action by going to their local gun shop on Mother's Day and purchasing a gun.
Absolutely. Become free human beings. At least get a taser or some mace and start protecting yourself. These people train their daughters to be victims, send them off to college to be raped and killed. I've heard literally, and I appreciate your call, scores of phone calls. Scores of phone calls from 911 where it's 5, 10, 15 minutes.